You've probably heard someone say, just think positive to get what you want in life, right? Well, what if I told you that manifestation has absolutely nothing to do with magic or wishful thinking, and everything to do with neuroscience? Today, we're diving into the work of Stanford neurosurgeon Dr. Jim Doty, and he argues that the power to radically change your life is literally wired into your brain.
And that right there is the core idea. Dr. Doty is basically saying, forget about wishing on stars. The power to change our circumstances isn't some force out there in the universe. Nope, it's a biological process that happens right inside your own head. So what this means is that we're going to reframe this whole conversation. We're moving away from the kind of fuzzy, myth-based ideas like the law of attraction, and we're getting into the real, concrete science of it all, the neural pathways and brain networks that we can all learn to use.
All right, so here's our game plan. We'll start by showing why manifestation isn't magic. Then, we'll get into an incredible story about a secret teacher. After that, we'll cover how to rewire your brain's mode, then the nitty-gritty science of how to manifest, and we'll wrap up with a simple practice you can start using today.
Okay, first things first, let's talk about why this perspective is so compelling. And it starts with our source, Dr. Jim Doty. So Dr. Doty isn't just some guy with a theory. He's a world-renowned neurosurgeon at Stanford, a best-selling author. But what really makes his work so powerful is that it's personal. He grew up in deep poverty with a life full of trauma, and he used the exact techniques he teaches to completely rewrite his own story.
So, how does a kid from that kind of background end up at the top of his field? Well, it's an amazing story, and it all started with a chance encounter in, of all places, a magic shop when he was just 12 years old. Picture this. He's a kid just trying to escape a chaotic home, so he rides his bike as far as he can. One day, he just wanders into a magic shop. And in there, a woman looks past his rough exterior. She sees his potential, and she makes him an offer that would literally change the entire course of his life. Over 6 weeks, she taught him these 4 things. Now, this was way before mindfulness was a household name, right? But she was basically handing him a toolkit to take control of his own mind. A skill that, let's be honest, turned out to be way more powerful than any magic trick. And what's so incredible is how these lessons plug directly into our own biology. It really all boils down to learning how to shift between 2 totally opposite modes in our nervous system.
According to Dr. Doty, a lot of us, especially if we've dealt with stress or trauma, are kind of stuck in what he calls fear mode. This is your fight or flight response being on all the time. Your body is just constantly scanning for danger. And when you're in that state, it physically closes your brain off from seeing new opportunities.
So, the goal is to shift into heart mode. This is your rest and digest system kicking in. Dr. Doty says this is actually our natural state. It's where we feel open, connected, and it's the mode where our brain is functioning at its absolute best.
I mean, just look at the difference here. It's night and day. In fear mode, your brain is all about survival, threats, and yourself. In heart mode, it's open, connected, and thinking about others. And here's the real kicker. If you want to manifest new possibilities in your life, you have to be in the physiological state where your brain can even see them in the first place.
Okay, so you're probably asking, great, how do I actually do that? How do I make the shift? Well, it turns out it's not some vague concept. It's a trainable skill that lights up a very specific 4-step pathway in your brain.
Let's be really clear what Dr. Doty means by this. This isn't about wishing for things. It's about actively programming your own subconscious to spot and then act on opportunities that are already out there, opportunities that line up with your goal.
It's like a 4-step assembly line in your brain. Step 1, use your default mode network. Think of it as your brain's storyteller to imagine a new future. Step 2, your salience network jumps in and acts like a big, bright highlighter, marking that story as important. Step 3, your attention network becomes a bloodhound, sniffing out your environment for anything and everything related to that important story. And finally, step 4, once it finds a clue, your executive control network, the CEO of your brain, takes over and says, okay, let's do this, and pushes you to take action.
So we have the theory, we have the brain science. How do we actually put this into practice every day? Dr. Doty gives a really simple exercise to build this skill and get that 4-step brain pathway firing on all cylinders.
Okay, here's the technique. First, you physically write down your intention. That engages your brain's motor circuits. Then, read it silently to yourself. Then, read it out loud so your auditory system gets involved. And finally, this is the most important part, close your eyes and really feel the emotions of it already being true. You have to engage as many senses as possible and do it every day. Because, as neuroscientists love to say, neurons that fire together wire together.
And look, the goal here isn't to be perfect. It's just to build the habit. Dr. Doty's big piece of advice is to start small. You don't try to manifest a Ferrari on day one. You start with something manageable to prove to your brain that this process actually works. You build momentum with small, consistent wins.
Dr. Doty leaves us with this incredibly powerful metaphor. He says that every time we think a negative thought about ourselves, I'm not good enough, I can't do that, it's like we're laying down a single brick. And over time, we build a prison around ourselves with our own thoughts.
But the science we just went through, it shows us something amazing. It shows us that the key to get out of that prison, well, it's already in our pocket. It's the ability to consciously direct our own brain's incredible power. So the real question isn't whether or not you have the key. The question is, what prison have you built for yourself, and how are you going to choose to unlock it?